Konnichiwa, everyone, and welcome back to DigiHearts Hazard's Fate, Part 3. In this episode, we're finally going to finish off Destiny Islands. Hopefully. Still getting used to all of this. Also, before I begin, I would like to make a request. Because I want to do this YouTube stuff right. What kind of recording microphones do I need? Like, what's the best microphone to start out with? Currently, I work part time. Yes, I do have an actual job, so whatever. What I'm trying to say is, what microphone would I need to have good audio to record these? Leave suggestions in the comment section below, and as always, hit that notification bell, like, comment, subscribe to the channel, share with your friends, and on to the video. Takado slowly started to open his eyes to the welcoming light of the morning sun. Takado sat up and stretched his arms. Then he stood up and stretched his legs. Then he grabbed his goggles and he headed outside. When he looked around, he saw that it was still early, and none of his friends would be on the island until later today. So Takado headed for the group's secret place. It's a secret cavern hidden behind the bushes and branches of the trees. The only entrance was a small hole near the waterfall. Dakota crawled through the entrance of the secret place, and it looked like an ordinary cave with rocks just laying around. Some small gaps in between the rocks that gave it light, and a strange surfboard-shaped door that had no handle, no lock, and no way of opening it. Takata then looked around at all the drawings that filled the walls of the place. There were drawings of Sora, Riku, and Kai, drawings of papu fruits, of the trees on the island, of rocket ships, castles, and different things, like Sora and Riku fighting monsters and other crazy things kids drew. They were all made by Sora, Riku, and Kairi. Although there were a few made by Takato, like the drawing of himself with Guilmon, the Tamers and their partners, and of him giving a papu fruit to Rika. The reason was because Sora, Riku, and Kairi told him about papu fruit. If shared with someone, their destinies become intertwined. After he looked at all the drawings, he did what he usually did when he was there, investigated the mysterious door that can never be opened. He looked at it several times before, ever since he was brought here the first week of him being on the island. He was even going to try to break down the door once before, but before he could, he heard something in the back of his mind say that would be a bad idea, so he just left it alone. But even if he decided not to try to open it, he decided to investigate it whenever he had the time. Takado then thought, why would someone make a door with no handle, no knob, not even any hinges on an island like this? Did the adults do it to teach the kids about how some things are just better left alone? Takado shook his head and thought, no, this place is called the Secret Place, so I thought the adults even know about it. Heck, the guy said that when their parents were young, they used to come here to have fun. And now that their kids are old enough, they have stopped coming to the island about 3 years ago, saying it was now their island. It was now their responsibility. And Sora told me that he asked his mother about the secret place. When she asked what secret place, and Sora told her about the hidden grotto near the waterfall, the one that had the strange door inside, Sora's mother told him that she knew not of such place when she was growing up. So Sora thought that he and his friends were the first ones to discover their secret place. Man, this thing just seems to give more questions than answers. Sora then decided to leave the secret place and head out to the other side of the island. It was fairly large and had something of an obstacle course with large palm trees, an observation tower with a zip line, and a large star-shaped tree at the very end of it. And at the end of the beach was a raft that the gang was working on. Just then, Takato heard the sound of a door being opened, and he turned around and he saw the island trio of Sora, Riku, and Kairi. Takato waved and said, "Morning, guys." They all waved, and Sora said, "You ready to finish the raft today, Takato?" The goggle-headed tamer nodded and said, "You betcha." Riku nodded, then said, "Well then, let's head out." Sora, Kairi, and Takato nodded, then headed out to the raft. There, Kairi took out 3 lists for the group. Then she said, "Alright then, today, Sora, you'll be collecting 4 mushrooms that grow on both sides of the island. You will also have to catch 4 fish on the other side of the island. Also, we need the tarp from Takato's little space, and the rope there as well. Riku, go with Sora and help him if he needs it." Sora gave Riku an angry glare while the silver-haired boy just nodded. Then Kairi turned towards Takato and said, "And lastly, Takato, your job is to gather up everyone's packs and bring them here. Then you could wander around for a bit, but come back here when you're done, alright?" Takato nodded, as did everyone else. Then they headed out. Takato headed to his room where he already saw Sora taking down the tarp he had over the window to keep the light out, and then grabbed the rope he had placed in the corner. Then Sora saw Takato and said, "Oh, hi, Takato. Sorry, can't sing yet. Gotta go." Before Takato could say anything, the Sora was already out the door. Then Takato decided to take down all his drawings carefully and place them in his backpack. This way, I will be able to have my drawings on me, and I could show them to my friends when I find them again. Then, after Takato finished placing his drawings in his backpack, he left his little home and headed out to get everyone else's packs. But he saw Sora crawling to the secret place and decided to follow him. Once he was in the secret place, he saw Sora drawing a picture of himself giving Kairi a power fruit. Then Takato said, almost scaring Sora out of his shoes, "Nice to know how much you care about her, Sora." Sora looked up and saw Takato sitting there and said, "Oh, it's only you, Takato. Why did you do that?" Takato smiled, then said, "I saw you come in here, decided to follow you to see what you were up to. Now then, does Kairi know that you like her?" Sora blushed and with a start said, "Shut up." Takato laughed. Then he picked up a nearby rock and drew a picture of himself standing next to Rika. Then Takato felt that something was off in the cave. He then turned around and saw someone standing in the cave's mouth, wearing a brown robe. Then he asked, "Hey, who are you?" Sora looked to where Takato was looking and saw the same guy and asked, "Yeah, who are you?" The figure then said in a deep man's voice, "I have come to see the door of this world." Takato and Sora looked at each other and asked, "Door?" The mysterious figure simply said, "This world has been connected." Sora asked, "What are you talking about?" The figure said, "Tied to the darkness, soon to be completely eclipsed." Sora then said, "Well, whoever you are, stop freaking me out like this." "Huh? Wait a minute. Where did you come from?" The figure said, "You do not yet know what lies beyond the door." Takata looked at Sora and said, "This guy's weird." Sora then asked, "Door? This world? Wait, does that mean that you're from another world then?" Takata looked at the figure and tried to see who was underneath the hood, but the cave made it too dark to tell. Then the figure said, "There is so very much to learn. You understand so little." Sora then replied with, "Oh yeah? Well, you'll see. I'm going to go out and learn what's out there. Then we'll see." Takata nodded and said, "That's right. You can bet that we will learn what's out there." The figure then said, "A meaningless effort. One who knows nothing can understand nothing." Then the figure said nothing, simply stared at the wall behind them. Sora and Takata looked behind them and simply saw the same door, nothing else. Then they turned back to see that the mysterious robed figure was gone. Sora then asked, "What was that all about?" Takata shrugged his shoulders and said, "I don't know." "Well, I'm gonna go to the tool shed to get your packs. I'll see you when you're done, Sora." Sora nodded and said, "Yeah, you too. I just got a few more things to look for, then I'll be done." Dakota nodded, then smirked and asked, "Where's Riku? Was he supposed to look after you?" Sora stuck his tongue out and said, "That was just a joke." Carrie only said that as a joke to make sure I don't goof off. Riku's still working on the raft. Riku is still working with Carrie on the raft. Takado laughed, then he said, "Alright then. I'll see you later, Sora." Sora waved and said, "Later, Takado." Takado left his secret place and headed into the tool shed where he saw two different packs. A small white one with a symbol of powderproof fruit on it, obviously Carrie's, and a medium-sized light brown one, obviously belonging to Sora. But he didn't see Riku's bag. Typical Riku. Typical. Riku didn't. Typical. Riku decided that he didn't want anyone touching his bag, so he grabbed it himself. Takado just ignored the feeling of disbelief and just grabbed Carrie and Sora's bags, then headed back to the cove to deliver the bags. When he got to the cove, he saw that Sora and Riku were on a runner's mark, and he asked, "You guys at it again?" Carrie nodded, then Sora said, "If I win, I'm captain. And if you win," Riku said, "I get to share the poplar with Kyrie." Sora said, "What?" Takado asked, "What are you two racing for now?" Riku said, "We're racing to see who's captain, and to see who will share poplar fruit with Kyrie." Sora glared at Riku when he said the poplar fruit part, and Takado just shook his head and he said, "Whatever, just keep me out of it." The two got ready as Kyrie counted down. Then at the sound of two go, the two were off. Sora took the zip line and Riku took the long way around, but was still catching up to Sora fast. The two were neck and neck. Then Riku touched the tree first and was now on his way back. Sora was soon behind him. Even if he had taken the lead early on, Riku was now in first place. But then Sora managed to catch up to Riku, and the two were reaching the finish line. And then Sora reached the end first. Sora then cheered and said, "Yes! Now this goes 2-1. Riku rolled his eyes and said, "Whatever, it's just a boat." Sora glared at him because of that mark and made Sora's victory seem like a loss and a win. Takado laughed and asked, Does everyone have everything we need now?" Everyone nodded, then they headed out. While Takado was heading to bed, he noticed Sora and Kyrie were sitting on the docks. He heard Kyrie say, "You know, Riku has changed." Sora asked, "What do you mean?" Kyrie said, "Well..." Kyrie then got into a deep thought. Sora looked up at her and asked, "You okay?" Kyrie suddenly said, "Sora, let's take the raft and go. Just the two of us." Takada had to hold back a laugh when he heard this. Then he heard Sora ask, "Huh?" Kyrie then started laughing, and she said, "Just kidding." Sora then asked, "What's going into you, Kyrie? What's going into you? You're the one who's changed, Kyrie." Then she said, "Maybe. No, I was a little afraid at first, but now I'm ready. No matter where I go or what I see, I know I could always come back here, right?" Sora looked at her and said, "Yeah, of course." Kyrie smiled and said, "That's good. Sora, don't ever change." The brown-haired beach boy asked, "Huh?" Kyrie then stood up and said, "I just can't wait once you set sail. It'll be great." Sora said nothing and just watched the sunset with Kyrie. Takao decided not to bother the two of them and headed to bed. While he was walking, he thought, "Those two." He shook his head and laughed. They're going to be tough to watch over. Riku is the oldest, while Sora and Carrot are the same age. And I know that they have feelings for each other. That is why I want to protect them. I know I haven't known them for very long, but I just feel like I have to protect them. Soon, though, Takato saw Riku sitting at the usual spot, so Takato went to speak with him. Once Takato reached a small island, Riku said, "You excited for tomorrow, Takato?" The goggle-headed tamer nodded, then said, "You bet." Takato noticed that Riku was watching Son Kari. Then he asked, "So, Riku, do you have feelings for Kari?" Riku looked at him and smirked. Then he said, "No, I only act like I do so that Sora would step up and be there for her. Challenging him to see if he has what it takes to be there for her." Takata nodded and said, "I know what you mean. I may not have been a part of your little group for very long, but I feel like I have to protect Carrie. I mean, it could just be my night side kicking in, but I don't think so. I feel like it's something else. I don't know what yet, but I will protect her. And Sora, too. You know that if he gets left alone for too long while in charge, he'll get himself into trouble." Riku laughed and said, "I know what you mean. I mean, just yesterday, he got challenged into a fight by Titus, and he challenged to fight him, Selfie, and Waka. It was an interesting fight, to say the least, but did Sora really have to accept the fight in the first?" Riku then laughed and said, "I know what you mean. I mean, just yesterday he got challenged to a fight by Titus. Wait, yeah, I've already read this. Whoop. Takato laughed and said, "Oh man. Waka tried to have me fight all three of them at once, but I declined and said, when it sits so well with my honor." Riku smirked and asked, "Honor or your pride? Would you fighting three people cause you to overthink and lose, causing you your title?" Takata smirked and said, "I can ask you, why don't you just tell Sora that you actually respect him for being able to keep up with you up to this point so far, Riku." Riku looked at him skeptically and said, "I have no idea what you're talking about, Takaro." The gogglehead just laughed and said, "I see the way you two act, Riku. You are better than Sora at everything, and you know it. And I bet Sora knows it too. But if he admits it, it'll just be like hurting his pride." Takata then proceeded to leave. Then he turned back to Riku and said, "I'm not asking you to tell Sora that you respect him right now, but I'm asking you to instead look at the world the way Sora sees it. He may be a bit dense. Well, a lot dense. But he chooses to see the light instead of the darkness. The good before the bad. And he just thinks that you're being a bit mean that you're supposed to be." Riku then asked, "I'm supposed to be?" Takari smirked and said, "You guys act like you're rivals instead of friends. Look, I get it. You are all technically still kids. Maybe this journey is just a bit. Maybe this journey is just what you guys need to mature a bit." Riku looked at him and asked, "Like you did?" Takara nodded and said, "Yes. Adventures changes people. And while I hope this journey won't be like my last one, I hope that in the end you guys will always be friends." After that, Takato left, leaving Riku with a lot to think about. Then Takato then got to his little home and then laid down and thought, "This is it. Tomorrow we set sail. And I wonder, what will the future hold?" Takato then fell asleep until tomorrow, where he and his friends would be sailing off into unknown territory. Takato was laying down in his room when he heard the sounds of thunder. He looked up and saw there was a storm blowing over Destiny Island. Then he laid back down. He quickly shot back up and remembered the raft. He said, "Oh no, the raft!" Takato got down to the beach just in time to run in the storm and said, "Sora!" Beach Boy nodded and said, "We need to get to the raft, quick." Sora looked down and saw two small boats and said, "These belong to Riku and Kairi." Takata then said, "That's not good. If they're here, then they could get hurt." Takata then looked up at the dark sky and saw a strange dark ball hovering in the sky and asked, "What in the world?" Sora looked up to where Takata was looking and asked, "What is that?" Takata shook his head and said, "I don't know." Takata looked down at the beach and saw something and said, "No way! It's those same things from my dream." Sora looked and saw a small, dark, imp-like creature with two antennas, two bright yellow eyes. It was about the size of a small child. Sora then said, "Yeah, mine too." Then took out his gloves and said, "We need to find Riku and Kairi, fast." Sora nodded and tried to hit the creatures with his wooden sword, but it just phased right through him. He turned to Takato and said, "Takato, my sword doesn't seem to have any effect on them. Are you getting anywhere?" Takato dodged a side attack from one of the strange creatures and tried to punch them. The plastic on his gloves seemed to knock them back, but it doesn't seem to do anything else. Then he said, "No, I can only knock them back, but even then it's not very far. We need to get away from these things and find the others, and fast." Sora nodded, then looked over to the small island and saw someone standing there. Then he said, "Over there, at our usual hangout. I think I see someone. It looks like Riku." Takara turned around and put his goggles down and saw that someone was indeed on the island. It was indeed standing on the small island. Then he said, "We need to get there, now." Sora nodded, then he and Takara started running in the direction of the figure when Takara noticed a door where the entrance of the secret place was, and Takara said, "Where did this door come from?" Sora then said, "Let's go find Riku first." Takara nodded and said, "Right." The two teens ran towards the figure, avoiding the strange shadow creatures, and when they got across the bridge, Sora and Takara saw Riku, and Sora asked, "Where's Kairi? We thought she was with you." Riku then said, "The door has opened." Sora asked, "What?" Takara then said, "Not you too." Riku turned around and said, "The door is open, guys. Now we can go to the outside world." Sora then said, "What are you talking about? We gotta find Kairi." Takara nodded and said, "And what is with everyone talking about doors? First a stranger in a brown cloak in the secret place was going on about a door, now you too? Riku, have you not noticed the strange creatures coming out of shadows? Or maybe you have missed the floating dark ball in the sky. Or maybe the fact that our world is being invaded by strange dark creatures. Kairi is missing. A door is appeared in front of the entrance of the secret place. And you're just sitting here talking about all this crazy stuff? We need to find Kairi and find shelter before we get swept away." Riku then said, "Kairi's coming with us." The two were taken back by this, and Takara asked, "How could you be so sure when you're just standing here doing nothing?" Riku then said, "Takato, Sora, once we step through, we may not be able to come back. We may never see our parents again. There's no turning back. But this may be our only chance. We can't let fear stop us. I'm not afraid of the darkness." Takata then said, "You should be. I know I am. I have seen what will come of darkness. I know what happens when you let dark thoughts plague your mind. Because if you do, then there's no turning back. You'll become a different person. Do you want that, Riku?" Riku then said, "I know the risks, but I'm not afraid." Riku then held out his hand. Sora then said, "Riku." Riku then had a portal of darkness open up underneath him, and out of it one of those strange shadow creatures appeared and then tried to jump onto Sora. Takara saw this and pushed him out of the way and took the hit. Then he started being engulfed in a dark mist. Sora then said, "Takato!" Sora headed for Takato when the brown-haired teamer said, "Stop! It's too late for me! Get Riku! Find Kairi and get out of here!" Sora asked, But why?" Takato sadly said, "Because they're your friends." Sora then said, "But you're my friend too." Takato nodded his head. "I know, and it's because I'm your friend that I did this. I don't know what's going on here, but I don't want to see you get hurt. Zoro was trying to plead with Takata by saying, but what about finding your friends? Going back home? Doesn't that mean anything to you, Takato? Takato nodded and said, I still want to see my friends again, but I made it my mission to protect you and Kairi. Sora then asked Tyria, well, how can you protect us if you give up? Takato sadly smiled and said, I know, but I promise you, I will still protect you, both you and Kairi. That I will be there to protect you guys. You're like my annoying little brother, and Kairi's like my little sister. But I need you to get Riku and get out of here. That's an order. Sora looked behind him and saw that Riku was being surrounded by darkness. Then he looked back to Takato and said, and nodded. Then he gave him a small smile and said, and I promise you, and I will find your friends and tell them how brave you were. Takato smiled and said, and I will tell them how annoying you were. Now go! Sora nodded and dashed off to Riku. The last thing Takato saw was Sora grabbing Riku's hand. Then, nothing. Darkness. That was all that was around him. Takato looked around and saw that the world was nothing but darkness. Then he sadly thought, so, this is how it ends for me, huh? I always thought that it would have been Rika who would have ended me, not like this. Takato just sadly sighed and awaited his demise while thinking, well, I guess this is it. There's so many things that I wanted to do. I actually wanted to watch Suzy, Ai, and Mako grow up to become strong people and great tamers. I wanted to see Jerry take on the world in a whole new stride, and one day find a way to heal that broken heart of hers. I wanted to see Henry accept that invitation to work with his father at Hypnos with the rest of the monster makers. I wanted to start to teach Gilman how to speak normally. I wanted to see all the crazy stunts that Itmon had in store for the city. I wanted to continue to play the Digimon card game with Kazu, Kenta, and Rio, and maybe even enter the next card tournament. I wanted to be there for everyone. Be there for Rika whenever her mother took her to a fashion show for support. But I guess that will never happen. Now I am being consumed by darkness once again. If Rika would see me now, she would probably end up kicking my butt all the way into the dark ocean for giving up. As Staccato was thinking, a memory began to play from the back of his mind. He was back at home, and was with Rika, who gave him a small black box. Staccato asked, what is this for, Rika? Rika simply said, I know that tomorrow is the anniversary of our first date, but I just wanted to give this to you today, Gobblehead. Takata didn't ask why she was being so weird today, for fear of being pounded by the girl. So he just opened up the box and saw a small necklace with a symbol of Digital Hazard on it. Takata asked, Rika, why did you give this to me? Rika smirked and said, Takata, you can try all you want, but you will never be able to escape who you are. Even the sovereigns have told you that you hold the power of the Digital Hazard inside of you. But just because you're the tamer of Hazard now, doesn't mean that you need to hide it. Because you attract a lot of crazy and dangerous things and people. And there are people who will always be more dangerous than the ones before. Takata smiled and said, people more dangerous than the most feared female tamer in all Shinjuku, Japan, the infamous Rika Nanaka. Rika smirked and said, if you could find me someone more dangerous than me, then most likely, yes. Takata smiled and took out the necklace and placed it around his neck. Then turned to Rika and said, thank you, Rika. Rika nodded and said, just remember this, Gobblehead. No matter what happens, even if you feel like you're about to give up, just remember that necklace ain't just for me, but it's connected to all of our friends. So remember, as long as you have your D-Arc and that necklace, you will never be truly alone. Takato smiled and nodded. Then the memory slowly started to fade away. Takato opened his eyes and said, Rika's right. I have never been alone. I have had my friends with me all the time. And now they need me. I'm just, now that they need me, I'm just giving up? Well, no more. Alright then. If the digital hazard gave me power when I was angry, maybe this time, when I need it the most and determined, I'll be able to save my friends. Takaro then started to dig deep inside his heart, looking for the power that he called upon more than a year ago. Come on, come on, I don't care if I unleash Megiddo right now. Heck, he could be what I really need right now. Come on, you stupid hazard. You came to me when I was angry. Now I'm getting very angry and I could use your power now. Come on, come on, come on! On the outside world, Sora grabbed Riku's hand just as he was being surrounded by darkness. Then, in a moment, two bright lights erupted through the darkness. One of pure light, one of a pure white, and the other a vicious and malevolent red. Then, when the light died down, standing there was Sora and Takato. Except Sora was now holding a strange key-shaped sword with a silver center rod and crown-shaped teeth and a golden handguard and a small silver mouse head keychain. While Takata wasn't holding any weapons, his gloves had changed to a pair of giant set of red armor attached to his arms with a golden ring around the hand and golden zigzag lines going up to the shoulders where they had two bat wings. The hands had 5 sharp claws with black tips at the end with the symbol of hazard on the center of the hand and as a keychain on the shoulders. Takata opened his eyes and saw that he was standing right where he was before, but his arms felt heavier than before. And he looked down and saw his arms were now claws and he asked, "Whoa, what in the world are these?" Sora heard Takato's voice and turned around and saw him and said, "Takato!" Sora looked up and saw that Sora was there, except he didn't see Riku, but he saw Sora holding a strange key-shaped sword and asked, "What happened to Riku?" Sora shrugged his shoulders and said, "I don't know. I tried to grab his hand, but I was swallowed by the darkness, and then I was holding this." Sora held his strange sword and asked, "What about you? What kind of weapons are those?" Sora shrugged his Takato shrugged his shoulders and said, "I have no idea." Then a mysterious voice spoke to the two and said, "Keyblades." That's what was echoed in their minds. Sora then asked, "Did you just hear a voice speak to you?" Takato nodded and said, "Yeah, did you hear the word Keyblade as well?" Sora nodded, then Takato said, "Well, at least I'm not losing my mind at the moment." Sora laughed at that for a moment before he noticed that more of those strange shadows started appearing again. And he said, "If they look like weapons, then maybe they act like weapons as well." Takato shrugged and said, "Only one way to find out." Takato then pulled out his goggles and felt his new claws. They felt they were made out of metal, but he was able to flex his arms like they were just asleep. Then he charged at one of the strange shadows and took a swipe at them, causing them to be destroyed. Sora then said, "All right!" Sora then realized that there were still some of the shadows nearby and repeated, "If it looks like a sword, then maybe it will act like one." Sora then brought down his key sword onto the shadow's head and destroyed it. Takato then said, "Sora!" The beach boy looked towards the Goggle-Head who said, "We need to look for Kairi." Sora nodded and said, "The secret place. That's the one place Kairi would hide in a time like this." Takato nodded and said, "Let's go. You lead and fight these things from the front. I'll follow and swing with the ones in the back. All right?" Sora nodded, then headed for the secret place, while fighting up the strange shadows in front of him. While Takato was clawing at the ones behind him, and soon the duo made it to the secret place. Then, when Sora opened the door and walked through it with Takato, it felt calm. Then Takato said, "Be on your guard. We have no idea if any more of those things will be here." Sora nodded, then the duo ran towards the deeper part of the cave in hope of finding Kairi. Once they reached the end of the cave, they saw Kairi standing at the front of the surfboard-shaped door, and Sora and Takato said, "Kairi!" Kairi turned around to look at them, but she had a strange look in her eyes. She simply said, "Sora." She held her arm out, but then the strange door opened up, and a wave of dark energy came rushing out, almost blowing the two boys away. But they held strong. Carrie was then blown forward and Sora went to catch her. Takata was standing behind him, ready to catch Sora. But when Carrie touched Sora, she faded from existence, and both Sora and Takata were blown out of the secret place. When the two landed outside, they found that the island was destroyed and being sucked into the swirling ball of darkness in the sky. The ground that the two were standing on started to shake. Then they looked behind them. They saw a giant shadow creature with long black hair, two bright yellow eyes, and a giant hole in its body in the shape of a heart. Sora and Takato looked at one another and nodded. Takato dashed off, taking his claws and slashing at the thing's left arm, while Sora attacked its right. Then the creature bent over and crossed both of its arms and started to gather dark energy into the heart-shaped hole, then released it into a ball of darkness, and it came out to Sora and Takato. He used this time to attack the creature while it was somewhat defenseless. Then the creature got back up and brought its right arm towards the ground and started to gather more dark energy. Then it raised its arm up and slammed it into the ground, summoning more of those smaller shadows which Takata and Sora attacked while attacking the giant's hand. Then, after one final strike from both boys, the creature started to be sucked into the ball of darkness, along with everything else. Then the two boys tried to hold on to whatever was left of the island, but soon the boys lost their grip and were sucked into the ball as well. And that's Destiny Islands. Gotta admit, it is a pretty decent chapter. Now, first things first, Takato's Keyblades are my own creation. You can see what they look like in this thumbnail and the image on the screen right now, if I've done this right. They're basically giant freaking gauntlets. I wanted to give Takata something unique for this story. Trust me, these things are pretty cool in my opinion. Of course, that is just my opinion. But honestly, I wrote this thing back in 2017, so it was really early for me. Well, next time we get to Travis Town and we get to meet some fan favorite Final Fantasy characters and meet a certain dog and duck. So, anyway, as I said at the beginning of this video, if you guys have any suggestions for good starting microphones that I can get myself to at least sound professional, please let me know in the comments. Also, 2 likes and the next part will come out tomorrow. I'm trying to do like one video a day where I go back and forth between my 2 stories that I'm doing. If you have any suggestions for what what stories I should do next, please don't be afraid and let me know. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, leave your suggestions down below, and I'll see you all in the next one. Chaos Control!